Hello, I'm Horcerer. I want to find out what makes every single killer tick. There's one big glaring issue with that though. I play the Nemesis, essentially only the Nemesis. I physically cannot get thousands of hours of experience on every single character. So, I'm going to be interviewing people that do have those thousands of hours. One for every single killer. Welcome to Stars of the Fog. Hello and welcome back to Stars of the Fog. Today we're going to be covering everyone's lovable cannibal, the Cannibal, Bubba Sawyer. My guest here today is a prolific cannibal player, one of the best in the business. Would you like to introduce yourself and what you're known for?
Hi, I'm Chicle. I have the most chainsaw downs in North America, number 8 on leaderboard for worldwide, and I am a Bubba main.
And what began your journey into the fog? When did you start playing Dead by Daylight?
So I started playing in 2019, and it was a friend of mine who played Overwatch. Her name's Mia. She doesn't really play DBD anymore, but she got me into Dead by Daylight. She was telling me that Ghostface is coming and that I should try it because she knew I was a big fan of the Scream franchise. And so I gave Dead by Daylight a shot, and I did not like Ghostface, or at least playing him. And yeah.
So, if you didn't like Ghostface and you're a cannibal main, which are two very different killers, when did the swap happen? When did you switch over to Bubba and when did you really start getting into him? And what was the initial appeal, I guess?
I guess I went through a couple different killers. So the first ones I really liked were like Trapper, Mikey, and Legion. And then eventually I went to like Pig, back to Mikey, and then to Bubba in like 2021, I think is when I started liking Bubba.
Okay.
And I played him lightly. Like I was more so a survivor main at that point because, well, as everybody knows, Survivor was the really fun role up until I think the end of 2022 or 2021, where 6.1 came out. That patch that kind of nerfed Survivor, and then yeah. And after that, I just went really hard on Bubba. And the end of last year is when I, hard grinded to get to one of the top placements of Bubba. I'd always been like top like 20, top 15, but then I grinded to get number 8.
It's a pretty big leaderboard position compared to the literal thousands and thousands of people that have played the Cannibal, so that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, the gap from 8th to 1st though is very big in itself. But I talked to those guys and they've told me that they used exploit for speed limiter to kind of double their downs, but they respect me heavily for doing it the legit way.
Oh, so it's like a every hit with the saw, not just every down with a.
Yeah.
Okay.
I personally am not a fan of speed limiter, so I never used it. But they told me that way back when they did that to increase their amount.
Okay. So
Yeah.
what was the initial appeal of Cannibal specifically and what made you stick with them?
To be honest, I just really like facing him. It feels really fair in chase,
I
and
agree.
looping him, I feel like you can really show like what you can do at a single tile. It's not like an anti-loop killer of any sort. It's if you know how to play a tile, you will succeed. If you don't know how to play a tile, you will fail.
So it's legitimately skill issue, the killer.
Yeah. And of course, like as playing as the killer, right? If you're going down to Bubba, it is a skill issue. I think of it as if a Bubba outplays you, that is genuinely him being really good comparison wise.
Yeah, and I've seen a lot of you doing that because I have played against you a good few times, and it's kind of impressive, the amount of mind games you can pull on the silliest loops that I just don't expect. And then I get hit with the saw and I die, and then that's that. And when do you feel like because again, you're a pretty good Bubba, when do you feel like you really understood him? When do you feel like you got the Cannibal? And how long did that take?
Well, when I started playing him a lot, I wanted to get really good with him, so I didn't take any perks and I would just play him like that for a long period of time. And then I've gone through arcs where I've taken no perks, I've taken just Bam, I've taken just Bam Iron Maiden, and that's kind of like how I tried learning him because I really wanted to get good at him because not a lot of people are good at the Cannibal. A lot of people play him, they go like, "Oh, that's not fun." Back when he was especially weaker, a lot of people just refused to play him because of the collision being terrible and 6 seconds if you crash and stuff like that. And him just being very bullyable. But I wanted to get really good, so I put in a lot of effort off rip, and I think it paid off.
For sure. When do you feel like you got it?
I feel that that's a hard thing for Dead by Daylight to say I've got it because I feel like Dead by Daylight, I've so many hours in this game. Like on my account that I play on right now is like 9,000 hours, right?
Sheesh.
I feel like even now I learn something new all the time, but I feel like I have a good base knowledge via all the hours I have that I know majority of things. I wouldn't say I know everything about Bubba. I learned recently, like dead ass, I want to say 4 months ago, that dependent on which order you put on knife scratches and beast marks, which are the speed add-ons, right? Yeah, like I found that out a couple months ago, and I was like, really? I had no idea. But I don't know if that only changed when they buffed them or not. But yeah, honestly, there's a lot of stuff that people post in the Bubba Discord because we have a Discord of like
Of
a bunch of
course, yeah.
P100 Bubbas. I'm sure there's one for Nemesis, right?
Not that I'm aware of.
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah, and they just share a lot of information, and it's good to go through it sometimes. But I won't lie, like I don't feel like I know everything. I know a good amount to play them at a high level.
Okay, so definitely a guy with a deceptively high skill ceiling.
Yeah, for sure.
And you were talking about add-ons. I'm not super familiar with Bubba's add-ons. I vaguely know Chili. That's about it. But how would you feel about his add-ons? Would you say like they're balanced, over undertuned? And what are your favorite add-ons to run?
I feel like ever since they buffed him, he has really good add-ons overall. Some do need buffs, and some I feel like would just be better base kit. Like Carburetor Tuning Guide, I think could definitely use a buff. I'm not a fan of just auto charges. That's something that I feel like anybody could really do. It's not hard. It's probably the first thing anybody learns when playing him, when you're trying to main him. But yeah, I feel like that one definitely deserves a buff since it's in iridescent. And aside from that, though, I feel like a lot of his add-ons are good. I would like to see Chili get buffed. I feel like when he got reworked and they made it base purple Chili base kit, that it kind of fell off hard. There's no real purpose in bringing it. It does not provide enough value to be an add-on. So there are a couple add-ons I do think need buffs, but ever since he got buffed, like I feel like Depth Gauge way more playable because you can just bring beast marks and it'll be better than what it used to be. And he has like a lot of really good perks from Eerie Flash, Light Chassis. I know I say it wrong, but I say it how I say it. Yeah, to beast marks. Beast Marks is a must-have on like everything though, and Primer Ball being like the strongest add-on, funny enough, which is a yellow add-on.
Yeah, okay. And just because it was brought up so naturally, so Dead by Daylight's a game that changes a lot, right? So how would you feel that behavior has treated your killer? Like, do you feel like any buffs, nerfs, changes to Cannibal have been fair and needed things?
I feel like Bubba definitely needed the buff, which he recently got last year. It was something that was well like overdue, everybody was kind of waiting for it.
What was it, just for those that might not know?
Okay, they gave him better collision, they gave him base kit Chili, purple Chili, they made him base kit move faster with his base chainsaw. They gave him a lot of good buffs that definitely were well over a long time. Like he fell out, like he was terrible before they buffed him, borderline unplayable. He felt like how Billy used to feel, right? Like very, very shit. It was just really good to see them actually show love to him for once. And I'm happy seeing other killers such as Freddy recently. He's going to get a huge buff as well, which is like well overdue.
Yeah, Wes is actually after you for Freddy, so.
Hey, I love Wes. Wes is a homie G. That guy is amazing.
For sure. And while not directly the Cannibal, but the game itself does change, new maps, perks, etc. How do you feel like the game has been changing around Cannibal? Do you feel like he's kept up in strength?
I think something that kind of puts Bubba down a lot is new maps. That since you bring up the maps, a lot of the maps they tend to make very, very big, such as since Area Crow, we've gotten like Nostro, we've gotten Greenville, which is also very huge, right?
Yep.
I think something that holds him back is map traversal.
For sure.
On those large maps, he is not mobile. He's very much. There's a few ways to play him, which is like make a dead zone in one area, right?
Yep.
Hard tunnel, which just 2-tap off the hook, right? And proxying just areas, and yeah, there's a few ways, or just plain slugba, which hardcore slugging is amazing for him. I feel like he does it on par with Twins at times. So those are kind of like how he has to deal with big maps, is by playing in those kind of ways. But big maps have kind of put him in a spot where he can feel kind of bad, but if you know what you're doing and you don't play overly nice, you can definitely still win.
Okay. And what would happen to be your like favorite map? And on the opposite end of things, what is your least favorite and why?
All right, so people tend to disagree with me on this, but I think the best map for Bubba that I enjoy the most is Gideon's. Gideon's Meat Plant, by far best map. Good size, depletable pallets, like depletable resources for survivors, where if survivors just willy-nilly just create dead zones, that map is terrible for them. But if survivors know how to like loop around it, it's like it'd be pretty good for them. But a Bubba that knows what he's doing will make Gideon's just absolute hell for any survivor, without a doubt. And then
There's like 3 windows on the entire map. So when they're out of pallets, not great.
Yeah, there's not many windows, but there are a lot of pallets, and you can close people off into little like rooms or sections, which can allow you to go for a flick. And if they burn the pallet, they're just dead, and they have to try to win the mind game, which I think allows for super fun, cool flicks. And I don't know, it's one of my favorite maps without a doubt. And for the opposite end, Area Crow is probably his worst map.
Classic, yep.
It's big. Twigs, and also twigs again can be very terrible and give survivors a lot of open room to like kiss a wall, and you have to go so wide around it in order to not crash. And since you're very visible, since it's an open map with not a lot of coverage, they tend to pre-run pretty early. And yeah, it's just an unenjoyable map, but I think that falls for a lot of killers where not many killers like Area Crow.
Yeah, that's for certain. I definitely don't like Area Crows, let me tell you.
Yeah.
Just while we're talking about stuff that we like and dislike, if you had to pick one thing, it can be a tech, a visual, a sound, like anything at all about Cannibal, what is like the number one thing that like keeps you coming back, your favorite thing every single time?
I would say clip potential. You can get some pretty cool clips on them. I feel like people undersell it, but a really cool mind game is actually so cool.
As someone that's experienced them from the other side, yeah. And it doesn't even feel unfair from the opposite side either. It's like, wow, that was impressive every time.
Some cool flicks, just, yeah. I guess flicking in general is just always badass, or getting like, I guess on Gideon's, I don't know if you've seen it, but it's basically you jump over a gap. On Gideon's, you get a pretty clean chainsaw down that way. You can do some pretty cool stuff between like getting vacuumed to pallets over a gap, getting cool flicks, just all of that. Just, I love going for clips on Bubba. It'd be really rewarding, and snowballing with Bubba is also just really cool.
Yeah, because I would say, like, you could maybe make a case for Trickster, but Bubba is definitely like the guy where if they mess up, the game is just over. Period.
Yeah, it feels very similar to Oni, where like it could be a heartbeat and everything's just done. It's closed.
Yeah, exactly.
He's cleaned up the whole game. Yeah.
So he's definitely got like some power to him for sure.
Yeah, just the potential for a one-tap killer. It's amazing, without a doubt. And imagine having to hit a survivor like 2 or 3 times. That'd be terrible.
Imagine that.
Yeah, like crazy.
That'd be crazy. And on like the opposite end of things, what is your absolute least favorite thing about Cannibal?
Map traversal. It's for any like killer that's mostly like melee range. I'll say Bubba's melee range, right? Like,
yeah,
he's M2, but it's melee range, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, you don't have map traversal. You are very much, if somebody runs like early and you have to start a chase, or you start the chase with having to catch up to start the chase for like 20 seconds, it feels like ass.
And like you can see them, but chase isn't starting because you're not in range, and it's like, oh my god, okay, dude.
Yeah, that's probably my least favorite thing.
Yeah, I mean, I feel kind of the same way with Nemesis even.
Yeah.
It's great when you're in chase. I have a great time then, but getting to the chase, that's
Yeah, specifically on maps that are like Larry's, where like they could take 3 window vaults before you can even get close, and then they're cross map and you're still catching up to those scratch marks you can vaguely see.
Yeah, I mean, I feel that. And I don't really have a segue to get into the next bit, so I'm just gonna not do one. How do you feel about your killer's cosmetic options? I don't think you'll say yes when I ask if they have enough, but is there a specific option for a skin that you would really like to have made? And what is your current favorite outfit for him?
All right, yeah, it's pretty clear that he does not have a lot of fits. I would like to see maybe the 2003 fit added to the game, or maybe even the one that they made for TCM. I don't know how to pronounce it. It starts with an N. I'm not going to try to butcher it. It was made by an artist, and they added it to the TCM game. But yeah, they could add a couple for sure. My go-to fit is granny body with default head and wooden mallet. To me, it's always kind of looked like the cleanest combination of it all.
Very dapper,
But
very dressed up.
yeah, I look cute in a salmon top. What can I say? Um, and I've kind of made it iconic to me. A lot of people tell me that they run the same fit because they seen me do it and they love it. Yeah,
Confirmed
it,
Chicle fit.
he doesn't have too many fits, but I'm happy that like people even recognize me sometimes off of my fit alone.
I
And
don't even.
sometimes people mix it up when they see other people running my fit, and they're like, "Oh, I thought it was Chicle because of the fit." But yeah, yeah.
And well, since you were just saying that the 2003 Texas Chainsaw outfit for Cannibal would be like your go-to, your option, what you like, how do you feel about Cannibal's lore per se? And like the movies in Dead by Daylight even, like are you a big, Texas Chainsaw Massacre fan?
Funny enough, I've never seen the OGs. I've seen the 2003 and Up movies, like the ones past that one.
Okay.
But I never actually seen the OG. I hear the OG's really good, but I never quite watched those ones. I don't really know where to watch them. I don't think they're on Amazon Prime. I don't think they're on Netflix, but they could be for all I know. But I've watched the other ones and they're pretty good. Aside from like the ones made in the last like 10 years, those are kind of like ass. They're not very good.
Yeah. The pain of being a horror sequel for sure.
Yeah, they try to reboot it and they try to paint him as like kind of a hero sometimes, and just it doesn't land.
Yeah, because he's just like a murderer. I mean, there's like
I
Bubba has
yeah,
very complex lore for sure, but he kills people. That is a tried and true fact about him.
I like my villains being villains. You know.
Yeah. So you definitely say you're much more like a gameplay guy than a lore guy for Cannibal.
Yes, much more gameplay is why I enjoy him.
Gotcha, gotcha. And much like other fans of the series of TCM, how frequently do you run into Cannibal fans or even antis? And how do you feel the community feels about your killer in general?
Okay, so my friend Naya says this the best, but people don't like Bubba, and I honestly, she's absolutely correct. People don't like Bubba. They like baby Bubbas. They want a killer that they can bully, and if you're not bullyable, they'll tend to hate you for it, and you'll get a lot of nasty comments. Like I get them all the time, and essentially like unless the survivors win heavily against you, they do not like you as Bubba. I can tell you that. There's more Bubba haters than lovers out there.
Okay. I remember, like Basement Bubba, Face Camp with Insidious, like that type of stuff before they added the anti-face camp meter was like a pretty popular playstyle, I guess. And then it was just like, well, you get one hook and then that's the kill. And then maybe a second hook. So like very uninteractive type of stuff. So a lot of the time when facing the cannibal, like when it's actually someone playing, decently, I guess, people would have a more fun time. But it's always been kind of odd, I guess, because the killer plays to win, too. Like, that's totally fine,
Yeah. I played fair and had survivors be very upset about losing because, as we said earlier, like if you lose to a Bubba, majority of the time it was a skill issue, right?
Yep.
Because he lacks mobility, right? And survivor spreading is always going to be the strongest. So when survivors try their damnedest, right, and they lose to somebody who's just playing very well, right? A lot of salt is to be had in this game. And
No.
also, yeah, also if you ever like go back to hook ever as Bubba, it is against the law to some survivors via the handbook,
Yeah, you can't do that.
The handy dandy handbook does say if a Bubba ever goes back to hook, he was camping the whole time, even if there's only one generator remaining. And you get told, even when you don't camp, that you were camping. No matter what you do, you were apparently camping. It's survivors like to regurgitate the same stuff a lot of the time. I don't know. I guess a lot of like I get told this by like I have a few people in my community on Twitch where they'll tell me like, "Oh, Bubba's just kind of OP," and
Huh.
because he has an insta down and they don't like that. And sometimes they're not the more experienced survivors, right? And they don't know how to loop. So they think that, but it's not true, right? And I try to, tell them like this is why you're wrong. But it's hard telling people that because, perspective. And I don't like acting like what I say is fact. But yeah.
A little bit of that is fact, to be fair. It is just like we've said it like 3 times, it's skill issue, and not necessarily in like a negative way, like, because everyone learns at a different rate. So the more you play, the more you will learn and the better you will get. And then Bubba becomes a really easy killer to loop, because if they're not doing the fancy schmancy tricks like you are, then pop window and leave most of the time.
Yeah.
But that's actually, when I was a very brand new survivor, I would bring windows of opportunity because I did think that exact same thing. I thought Cannibal was OP. There's no way to escape this guy. And like, I never know where windows are. And like, he kills me every time. And there was nothing I could do because I was inexperienced.
Yeah, and there's a lot more new players as older players tend to leave the game more often, and newer players always kind of flood in with every DLC, right?
Right.
So a lot of people think that. I can disagree, right?
Yeah, for sure.
But but yeah, so there's a lot of Bubba haters for that reason where they think like he's overpowered, he has an insta-down, there's nothing I could do, and they get angry and frustrated because they don't understand or comprehend his weaknesses and only looked at his strengths, right?
Yeah, but he is definitely a little frustrating when you don't know what to do, for sure, because his lethality is not something to mess with. But from the survivor's point of view, what would you say is the most frustrating part about playing against him?
Not being able to loop around a shack with a basement in it. Because if you go down there, you're not going to get out of there.
Yeah, for sure.
Once he's got you there, he's not letting you go. You're his little basement princess,
Yeah, the basement cannibal is, and that's, well, I guess it's upgraded more to like a proxy basement cannibal, but like regardless, you are going to get two tapped on the way up the stairs.
Yeah, there's no avoiding it unless you have sprint burst, right? Sprint burst is probably the only counter with it.
And didn't they say that they were going to make it so he couldn't chew through the borrowed time effect after double tapping, and then they just kind of forgot to do that?
They did do it. Misconception, they did do that where you do have 0.5 seconds worth of invulnerability.
Wow.
After you've been hit by the chainsaw. So essentially a dead hard, right?
Yeah.
Duration. So, I mean, you can see how far that gets you.
You have half a second before he catches up to you again. Woohoo! Yippee! That's great. For sure.
Hey, if you got a whole half a second, don't think of it as like half empty. Think of it as half full. Come on.
Oh yeah, my second is half full, and then it spills
Half
on the
full
floor when I
second.
get hit again. And how about for you? When you play against Cannibal, do you enjoy playing against him?
I love playing against them. I guess actually, you know what? The most frustrating thing for me when I play against them is when a random survivor has dropped every pallet and everything's dead.
Yeah.
You have nowhere to go.
So more of a team issue than like the actual killer issue.
Yeah, I don't think he can really do anything too wrong because killer's got to kill. And I don't believe in the other side having to accommodate themselves for the other side.
Killer's got to kill, survivor's got to survive. For sure.
Exactly.
That's just
you
how
can
it's
be
gonna
frustrated at the game, but, be mad at the devs. Don't be mad at the players.
For sure. Some words of wisdom there.
Yeah.
And while we're speaking about being mad, what are your thoughts on the Go Next Epidemic? And how often do you have people disconnecting or even going next on hook against Cannibal?
All right, so I want to say like at least 70% of my games there's people going next.
70%.
A lot of my games are people going next, killing themselves on hook first, just DCing flat out. A lot of that happens.
Wow,
because,
really?
Like, I hate to say it, but like people underneath 2 hours are very prone to it. And not to say that people over that don't do it. They do it a lot as well. Like I had a legacy Nia today get tapped up instantly DC.
At least they're using the disconnect function.
Yeah, at least they use the disconnect function. I do appreciate when they do that, but it's also kind of boring. It makes playing killer unbelievably dry.
Yeah, I really dislike the argument of, well, just take your free win and then move on. It's like, I play this game to have fun, not to win,
Yeah, I think I agree with the sentiments of Scott Junn where you should lose pips, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I'm also kind of entitled where I think if a killer DCs, they shouldn't lose a pip and that killers should actually probably have free DC penalties. But that's more so because I've been held hostage by hackers before. And you probably had that happen before, right?
Only like once, really.
Like
Actually,
one game or like
yeah,
one
like one
day?
game. I haven't really had a lot of hacker experience personally?
Oh, I had it happen for a couple days, and it was pretty terrible, if I'm being real. So that's why I think killers shouldn't have a DC penalty, because usually when people are held hostage, it's usually the killer being held hostage, right?
Hmm.
Opposed to the survivor.
And then like if it's Survivor, you could make it like crows remove collision, so it's not just like a body blocking thing. Or
Yeah.
hey, I have different thoughts about the DC penalty thing. I don't think it should be free, but I definitely think that you should get like the ability to like submit kind of like a hey, this was a cheater, I was getting held hostage, and then like they would refund your penalty if that makes sense. Because like
Yeah, but like, how long would that take?
yeah, I
And
don't
people
know.
would
See,
do
that's the
it every
thing.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just like in a perfect world type of scenario. I don't have like a concrete answer for it, obviously, except like making anti-cheat better forehead, but
I think of it in the way that, like, when a killer DCs, survivors are like, haha, yay, I've got free escape, right? But when a survivor DCs, it's more like, oh, wow, the other survivors are screwed over. And then the killer's playing against AI, which isn't the most fun.
if I want to play
So
against
I,
bots, I would go to a custom game exactly.
exactly, right? So I think, taking away the DC penalty from killers is not a bad idea. But even then, like, if we make D-pips also happen, it wouldn't be the end of the world, for that. I feel like less people would probably DC if that was the case. And if they did, it would probably be over, being held hostage, having a hacker there, or something that's actually real.
Yeah. I don't even remember the last time I looked at my pips, I'm gonna be honest with you.
Yeah, now that it's kind of like hidden behind the badges,
I,
doesn't really like matter, right?
yeah. I mean I hit Eerie 1 on both rolls every month, and it's like, okay, cool. But I don't know, I don't really think about it too much. I
Out
like
of sight,
getting
out of mind.
exactly. I like getting more blood points, but I don't like go out of my way to be like, okay, I gotta grind Survivor. I gotta hit Eerie 1. I don't do that
Yeah,
anymore.
now that I think about it, like I used to like see in chats and stuff where people would be like, "Man, I didn't pip. I'm trying to hit Yuri one," and they'd be like that all the time. But ever since they kind of put it in a second location, nobody cares.
Yeah, exactly. Which, like, honestly is fine in theory if people are just playing for fun instead of like, I need to do this one specific thing to pip. And like, the more efficient you are at it, then you get a pip. But yeah, the whole disconnect thing is like, I don't have like a silver bullet that's just gonna stop it. There's
It's not
always
about
gonna be
stopping, it's about decentivizing it, right?
yeah disincentivizing, and then like you have a carrot, you have a stick, right?
I don't know that saying. Could you please elaborate?
Yeah. So you have a pig, which is who you're trying to incentivize or disincentivize, and then you have a carrot, which is like a little treat for them if they do what you want, and you have a stick if they do what you don't want.
Oh, okay.
So like
I
you would
got it. I
smack the
got it.
pig or you would feed the pig.
Why are we abusing the
Oh,
pigs?
it's not a literal pig. It's like a say. It's like a thing.
Now that I think about it, though, now that you brought it up, the whole like not thinking about hitting grade one anymore, right?
Hmm.
I think that's kind of bad for behavior, isn't it? Because like that's another thing people aren't really grinding for anymore, right?
Yeah, I guess so.
Because like a lot of people don't even grind P100s anymore because
There's no reward.
there's no reward. People don't even see it in lobby anymore. It's a kind of a nothing burger, right?
Right.
And then now that the pips are out of the way, right, and you don't see them, not as many people care about it.
Exactly.
So why are we playing DBD? What are we grinding for?
For
Right?
fun.
For fun, right?
For
But
fun.
then you have a lot of people DCing, so
Not
it's,
fun.
it's not fun. Oh, so maybe we got to bring something that the like people want to grind for that's visibly shown that makes them want to play more.
Yeah.
Incentivize.
Herman actually just said that the like you remember the Void event from 2023, right?
I hated that one. Yeah.
But like the effect that the killers had on them where they're like kind of glowing blue and survivors were like it was like Legacy but like bluish.
Yeah, yeah.
And then
'Cause
like
they
a bunch
glow
of people are
blue.
just saying like just make that a P100 reward, Like it's cool looking, it's simple, everyone can have it, and then there's something to do.
True. I thought an aura effect was like probably the best way to go about it
For sure.
as well. I've been saying that for a minute, except I thought black, like corrupted by the entity when you hit P100, right?
A little bit like Artist.
Yeah, artist.
Gooped.
I think she has like tendrils, so maybe like black tendrils on the survivor killer. Yeah.
Yeah, I've gotten a little off track, so I don't have a way to steer us back gracefully, so I'm just taking a hard right. Does your killer have any bugs or techs that aren't as known? Like ones that are, like only real Bubbas know these? And are there any, like, really obvious known bugs?
All right. So when it comes to bugs in Bubba, there's so many. There are so many.
Hmm.
Starting off with the big one is the tantrum bug, where you will next time you chainsaw, you will tantrum.
Yeah,
And what
I've seen that.
causes it, yeah. And some people don't know what causes it. I know what causes it.
What
It's so
causes it?
dumb. When you break a pallet funny, aka you crash and you break the pallet at the exact same time.
Really?
And it happens more often than you think, and it sucks because it can definitely cost you a whole game sometimes. There's another one. I don't know what really causes this one, but you just won't be able to chainsaw the rest of the game. M2 becomes basically unbinded, and no matter what you do, you cannot chainsaw for the rest of the game.
Which is not good.
They never mentioned in the patch notes. I've only gotten it maybe 3 times last year. I haven't gotten it yet this year, but I don't imagine they fixed it out of nowhere, you know?
Yeah.
Not really a bug, but like pallet vacuums can be very strong. Like there's sometimes you could even like vacuum through a wall. It's kind of crazy.
Oh.
You know, you can do it over gaps too. Like there's I don't know if it's intentional or not, but when you run double like speed add-ons,
Hmm.
if you second guess your rev past like a little mark of it, you are going to probably tantrum if you try to commit the rest of the way. I don't know if it's intentional. I remember people saying it's a bug and it's not intentional because it doesn't say it on the add-on. But yeah, that's a bug. That's more well known. It's kind of stupid, annoying, but very avoidable.
So just a lot of stuff that's like, my chainsaw is not working the way it should.
Yeah. And then again, like I mentioned earlier, beast marks and knife scratches. If you put the yellow one first and then the green one, you actually won't get the full effect of the speed.
That is so
That's
odd.
another bug. Yeah, there's quite a few bugs for the cannibal. Even down to like if you are using Eerie Flesh at times, your how do you say it? Your charges won't show up properly. Sometimes it'll say you have the wrong number of charges while you are continuing to Eerie Flesh, and you just have to kind of memorize for the most part what you're at or where you are with the charges. Because sometimes it's just flat out wrong. I've noticed it in some clips in the past. I don't really take Eerie Flesh anymore, but yeah, that is one of them as well.
All right.
And yeah, I think for the most part, those are the popular ones I know of.
And like there might even be other bugs that are so small and in the background you don't even know they're there.
Yeah, but as you can see, like that's a handful right there.
And how about on the other end of things? Are there any secret Bubba techniques if I want to become the top percentile of cannibal?
I guess abusing vacuums, that's one. Like I said earlier, you can abuse a vacuum to kind of get downs. For chainsaw pallet vacuums, of course, is what I mean. In case anybody didn't understand that.
Oh,
Um,
actually, there is one that this is exciting. I never know anything. There's one that I vaguely know about cannibal. Something about like looking up extends your saw further, or
I've
looking.
always looked down.
Well,
Down
looking in
is
a direction. I
easier for
didn't
me.
know.
Yeah. Looking down can give you extended range at windows. That's a popular one known. I think Otts made a video and then everybody kind of knew that one. Yeah, that's a pretty popular one. To go against Bubba, there's some pretty cool stuff you can do, which is crouching in front of breakable walls. Unless the Bubba kind of goes at you from like looking sideways, they will vacuum just straight to the wall or pallet. So you can abuse that by just crouching in front of breakable structures, right?
Okay.
There's a lot of unique things that come with Bubba. He is one unique killer.
For sure. Absolutely. And just in general, is there anything you'd want to tell people? Say, little Timmy, big fan of Texas Chainsaw Massacre. He wants to play the Cannibal. Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the game was too expensive for him, so he came to Dead by Daylight. He loaded up the Cannibal. What are some general pieces of advice you'd want to give to him?
So one big one I give a lot of people who start playing him on mouse and keyboard, at least. I don't know about controller.
Hmm.
But when you chase a survivor, stop doing A and D key to turn. That's going to fuck you up so much. You're going to end up crashing because of that. Use your mouse to turn. Your mouse is where you go. You just hold W, turn with your mouse. If you want to flick, maybe you tap S key every here and there while you're turning. And if you're trying to flick like 180, right? But for the majority, you are just holding W and moving with your mouse. And you will be able to chainsaw so much cleaner and healthier and without crashing as much. It'll definitely help out any new player at all times.
All right.
Another thing, should I do a few or should I just
If
do
you
the
want
one?
to, go for him.
All right. Another thing is learn the charge timing. That's a basic one.
Oh, for sure.
You could do it via animation. For me, I always think of it as when the second time the chainsaw sweeps going from left to right, or you can just count it in your head like 1, 2, 1, 2, because it's about 2 seconds. And if you get a rhythm of it, of you counting 1, 2 in your head and it lines up, it'll be perfect for you. And that's pretty important without a doubt. The first thing you should learn.
Okay, cool. And does Cannibal have anything like that you'd say people don't really understand about him, like common misconceptions, something you wish everyone just kind of understood?
That chaining windows is without a doubt the strongest way to play against them. As much as it sucks, it's without a doubt the strongest way to play against them. If you can loop 2 windows together, you're going to be golden. A lot of people have the misconception that, oh, he's too strong and all this. Genuinely, just 2 good windows, you can probably run him for 5, easy.
Until he starts M1ing you, of course.
Until he starts M1ing you. Yeah, a lot of people overuse their power, but I think that happens on every killer when people are learning them.
Which, to be fair, is a good way to learn them, because failure is a pretty good teacher.
Learning when not to M2 is actually a really good tip.
For sure, absolutely. And while you're just talking about how strong he is or isn't, assuming they have windows, I don't know if you've personally done any, but how do you feel about win streaking on Cannibal? And do you feel like it's, compared to other killers, easy to win streak on them?
I think if you're playing really nasty, absolutely you could win streak pretty decently with them. But it also falls under, like, if you get a really, like, comp swift on an unfavorable map, at the end of the day, you're probably not going to 4K. Maybe you'll 3K or 2K. I think the way maps are designed, a lot of the time, they are designed in a way for Cannibal to mostly get a 2K if he plays fair and survivors play fair. Or no, if he plays well and survivors play well. I mean, where it's, the strongest of the strong. Most of the time, it's going to end in a 2K. So it can be hit or miss. If you're doing pubs, of course, like against regular pub survivors,
regular Joes,
dude, you'll probably crush it. Yeah, your average Joes, you'll probably crush it. But I've gone against comp swifts before, where I've known them, and there's like, oh yeah, you play comp, you play competitive. At best, you 2K most of the time.
And have you ever personally done any win streaks, just out of curiosity?
Not really, and that's because my life is a win streak. No, I'm kidding.
Hell yeah!
I feel like it would just make me tired of it. I know a lot of people like seeing it. I've seen other people do it, and they get tired of it because it's very generic gameplay. When it comes to Bubba, where it's like you just hardcore like proxy camp and tunnel, or you could just hardcore slug and just like keep doing it like that. And it's not the most enjoyable to watch or to play. So I don't see a real purpose in playing in an unenjoyable way. I think DBD players have this bad issue of playing DBD even when they're not having fun. I'm a firm believer, if I'm not having fun, I'm not going to play. And I think I wouldn't want to do a win streak because I don't think I would have fun. It would be a lot of pressure and it would become unenjoyable.
For sure. That makes a lot of sense, yeah. I'm just kind of doing it a little casually, but I got up to 78 before I lost. And it's definitely something, because I feel like as you've said, I definitely tunnel a lot more because, like, well, I need somebody to die, sorry. And, sometimes I just want to be my 8-hook Andy, and then whatever happens, happens, but...
Yeah, but you can also tell, like, you don't want to lose it, right? And so if it gets close, you'll start stressing out, right?
Yeah, for sure, definitely.
And, like, since they buffed Nemesis, I feel like he's low A, high B, right?
I wouldn't say low A. I would agree with, like, maybe middle of B. I make him look good, but he was definitely B tier.
B tier? Okay. I say high B tier. I feel like there's, a lot of killers where it's like there. But I think at the end of the day, Bubba still falls in C tier. And so...
C for Chainsaw.
Yeah. So, like, he's still going to struggle compared to other killers, depending on maps. And to be fair, they keep adding really over the size, like, overly big maps,
Yeah.
I think if we did live in the perfect world and they made maps, that dog kind of size, kind of the perfect fit, in my opinion, for map size. Yeah. I feel like I would love to probably try a win streak. It wouldn't feel like as much pressure to like, oh, I lost because of map.
And, while we're changing map sizes too, if you could change anything about Cannibal, like if you think there's anything inherently problematic, anything for accessibility, kit, balance, vibe, what would you change about him?
I think right now, I'm pretty happy with where he's at, but I would change two things.
Okay.
And that would be making Grace add-on base kit, which is allows you to rev before triggering tantrum for 3 seconds extra,
Mm-hmm.
Just, being able to, rev it a little bit longer would be very nice. Again, I mentioned there's the bug where if you have double speed, you will not be afforded any kind of like luxury with revving and canceling and then starting again without fully canceling it. And then another one would be carburetor tuning guide. I think something more like Billy's, where it's like you just rev faster instead of just auto chainsaw sweeps. I think those would be the two changes I would like the most, without a doubt.
I'm gonna go a little silly with this one.
All right.
Do you think that maining Cannibal has specifically taught you transferable gameplay skills to other games?
Yeah, no, it taught me an incredible amount of patience,
Okay.
which
How so?
he can be very frustrating when you first initially pick them up, right?
Right.
But I feel like I ended up being more patient because of it, and it helped me along the way, especially with even other killers in DBD, where it's like I look at it differently, where it's like I feel like I have better movement because I can be more like I won't. How do I put this? I feel like I can moonwalk a lot smoother and do better mind games with like a lunge, like how I would with my chainsaw sweeps. I can do that a little bit better with mind games than I would if I didn't pick up Cannibal in the way I did. If that makes sense.
Makes sense, yeah.
Yeah.
He taught you the way of, as you said earlier, a melee range killer. So when you're playing something with more options, you also have that in your back pocket.
Yeah, he taught me like really good fundamentals for killer, I guess. Because
Yeah.
he's not afforded, anti-loop or traversal.
His lethality,
So,
that's about it.
yeah. So like he kind of taught me better fundamentals for this, and I guess it kind of implemented into other games, learning fundamentals and just sticking to core fundamentals overall.
So sticking with the basics and then branching off from
Yeah.
there.
Because there's a lot of like other killers that negate fundamentals, and
Like
you can
Nurse.
tell when, yeah, like Nurse, right? That's like the most extreme version of it, right?
Of course.
Where like you almost need zero fundamentals for her. She plays a different game, right?
Right.
Even with Blight, for some extent, like you could tell one that has zero fundamentals for an M1 killer, he's gonna look like shit compared to like somebody who has played, majority of the roster, learned fundamentals, and
Like Lilith.
knows, yeah, and where how to play around that.
Yeah. All right, well, for my second to last question here, a little bit of a heavy hitter, I suppose. How long do you think Dead by Daylight is going to last?
Oof. That's a hard question because I don't know how much they intend to change. From if they continue the trajectory that they are right now, I give them like 3 years. But if they do decide to improve, I could see it lasting at least 5.
Okay. Anything
Yeah.
in particular you want to elaborate on for that?
Okay. Mostly servers. I think splitting up the servers adds a lot of ping, like a bad ping, and sometimes you even load into the wrong servers.
They're
I'm
adding
not
a
gonna
new
lie,
server with the Freddy patch, actually.
they are
Yeah,
nice.
Central America.
Thank God, because I'm not gonna lie, the one thing that makes me not want to play Dead by Daylight majority of the time
Loading
is
in
bad
the other
net.
ping.
Yeah, loading in and being like, why am I on 200 ping? Why
Yeah.
am I supposed to be on like 35 ping, but I'm playing at east and I'm getting 70 ping? It feels terrible, and stuff like that, and not optimizing your servers or whatever. It feels terrible. And like there's other things too. Like I think accessibility, they got to step it up on that front, where I feel like we need an audio slider without a doubt, please. Because playing Bubba in particular, dude, my chainsaw's so fucking loud. I can't hear shit. And then you have things like Survivor Screaming, where I press Shift Tab every time, so I don't have to hear them because it's so loud. And characters like Nick Cage kind of like tick me off because, he has it kind of delayed.
Yeah.
Which I think is why he has the lowest escape rate.
Because people don't want to hear him?
Because people are like, get this guy out of my ears, bro,
Yeah.
So I think, accessibility, because I feel like we have accessibility a lot for Survivor, right? We got the heartbeat, but we didn't really get much for Killer aside from FOV.
Yeah. Funny enough, aside from this series and the Hitbox Collision Whip series Whipped into Shape, that's actually the next video I'm making is I'm going to be taking, like, I'm dialing it to 11 with accessibility, but the whole idea is that I would want, settings for every single killer and every single phobia. And then you could just, like, go down the list and toggle them on or off, have a little slider for volume, whatever. So, like, if you don't like Plague, you can just turn off her volume or the animations or stuff like that. And it would go for both sides, of course. So you would be able to do that.
Yeah. Like, optimization for Dead by Daylight has been really bad, but I feel like something that kind of pushed them to do a little bit more was the AT&T tournament. Do you remember that?
No.
So what they did was the AT&T tournament was this big tournament. They got a bunch of like Mizkif, Crusader, all these really big Twitch faces, right?
Right.
And they got them to do a Dead by Daylight tournament when near none of them had ever played Dead by Daylight.
Okay.
And it went horrible. They all swore to never play this game again. They hated it. They said, how is this game like 6 years old? And there's like, I'm stuck on 60 FPS. It looks terrible. There's no optimization. And they kind of laughed at the game. And then after that point, I noticed behavior kind of step it up a little bit, add in a few things that I feel like the community had asked for ages. And so I feel like we are so behind on optimization when you look at other games that are older, like, Rainbow Six Siege, where they even have something for accessibility for flashbangs, right?
Yeah.
Where instead of it going white, you can have it turn black to kind of help,
Yeah.
Not the hardest change. I don't code, but I feel like Siege got that done real fast, right?
Right.
So I feel like there's so many things behavior needs to do to make it accessibility friendly. And also filters. Dude, I don't know how people play on console. That blows my mind. There's no gamma. There's no brightness.
Yeah, there's no brightness filter in this game. It's insane to me.
Dude, I was playing games in like 2010 that had brightness filters.
I was playing games in the early 2000s that had brightness filters.
Exactly. Dude, I remember Diablo 2, the original one, had brightness filters. So
what year is it?
I know. It's 2025 and we don't have that. And I don't know why. I feel like they got to work on like at least 2 patches in a row of just pure optimization, quality of life, stuff like that. This game could go a long way, right?
And just
but if
like
they
Bubba,
don't do that,
you gotta focus on the fundamentals.
Yeah. I'm just saying, like, that's something I think that hurts the game so much. On top of bad servers, bad optimization, bad quality of life kind of, accessibility things. Those things are what I feel cause most people to leave the game, without a doubt. I would not mind 2 patches a year or 1 patch a year at least, right?
Right.
Where we get something to touch up the game to not make it feel as bad.
Yeah, because I think Dead by Daylight does have, like, something special. Icons of horror all in one place. It is a unique gameplay loop, but, like, all of the things outside of the gameplay are not up to par. And, like, they've been kind of coasting by on having that uniqueness, I would say.
I also think we need something to grind for.
Absolutely.
You asked me 3-4 years ago, I'd probably say, no, I don't want a ranked mode. That'd be terrible, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think where we are now, we need a ranked mode to keep us incentivized into playing this game with, a cosmetic reward for hitting golden up or something. Stuff like that, right?
Right.
And a real MMR system that determines skill. So you're playing with people on the same level. I feel like I enjoyed the game the most.
Vague.
Yeah, right now it's very vague. It's based off of, did you escape enough? Did you kill enough? Good stuff. Which, hard to determine, but I feel like, back when it was the rank 1, rank 20, you kind of did that. I felt like the game was in a really good spot. I felt like, I'd hit rank 1 on one account, then I'd go play on a Smurf and just fuck around and probably float around purple rank 6-ish. But yeah.
And well, my last question, I guess, is the heaviest hitting of all. What would make you completely quit Cannibal?
I think if they brought back 6-second tantrum, I don't think I could go back to that.
What is it right now?
3-second.
That's a little bit of a difference, yeah.
Yeah. It felt really bad when you would like tantrum and you'd have to wait a full 6 seconds of the survivor getting cross map and then you could play the game again. And if you think about it in terms of like 6 seconds of 90 seconds of a gen, like that's a lot of time,
Yeah.
So I don't think if they reverted the bubble buff, I would continue to play them. I think I would go straight to unknown.
Okay. And that's kind of all that I have as far as questions go for you, Chicle. So if you'd like to just kind of share all your socials here, I'll put them all up on screen so people can know where to find you. If you have anything you're working on that you're excited about and you want to share a little precursor of, feel free to yap about it. This is your time and your time alone.
All right. I stream on Not Chicle on Twitch. I got Twitter, which is Not Chicle. And I'm not really working on too much lately, but I am really enjoying TFT. So I might just make a guide of how to get into teamfight tactics, as
Okay.
that is my second favorite game right now.
Gotcha. Well, thank you for coming on. I appreciate you taking your time out of your day to yap with me about the Cannibal. And, it's been very enlightening, and I appreciate your being here.
Yeah, thank you for hitting me up for this. I'm very happy to, fill in that slot of the Bubba guy.
For sure. And to everyone else, thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. Thank you for keeping up with the series. And I will see you in the next one. So have a lovely rest of your morning, evening, night, or whenever it may be. Bye-bye.